Okay, so as Callum mentioned, I'm a qualified European patent attorney, but I left in 1996, and I've been living in Asia since then, 6 years in Japan, about 11 years in Singapore. So I practice in Singapore, but in the last few years, usually I travel quite a lot. We have an office in Malaysia, and, quite good business there. I'm often in Thailand, and sometimes Indonesia, Philippines, Sri Lanka, and the last 1 year I start coming to India. So since I have a bit short of time, what I try to do today is to give a bit overview about Southeast Asia. Talk about a few key points that we take into consideration when we advise our clients to obtain protection in Southeast Asia, and I want to focus on a particular aspect in the pharma and biotech. I hope I have enough time. So the one important appointment would be the ASEAN Economic Community in 2015. This means that what we expect is supposed to be let's say, a single regional common market for the ASEAN countries. What we expect to have some more harmonization, more liberalization of goods, services, investment capital. So, of course, nothing like the European Union. It's something more, more harmonization, more freedom, more reduction of tariff. 2015 is quite close. We don't think it's going to happen everything at the beginning. I think what happened will be several stages, and slowly will go into practice. But I have seen already an harmonization, at least in the regulatory approval. Sometimes we give advice on our client in regulatory matter or even food regulatory. I see already an harmonization. But what make the region more interesting is for foreign company is that you come to the region as a region, not only in Singapore and or Malaysia or Thailand. At the moment you have to repeat regulatory approval or whatever matter you need in each every country. I think that it will become easier for company to come into the region. So it's something that really become really attractive, I think. A bit only the statistical data just to understand where we are. The ASEAN region, the population is over 600 million people. Of course, nothing compared to India, China, but it's bigger than European Union and the double of the United States. Just to say that is a big potential market. Indonesia by itself is about 250 million. There are some other big market and big population countries like Philippines and Vietnam, also Thailand. Of course, Myanmar now is becoming quite interesting. It's to say that there are big countries where can become quite attractive for a big company, pharmaceutical companies. As far as is my field is pharmaceutical, biotech, and chemistry. I can see a pharmaceutical company, they file patent application in many of these countries. Even if you are in telecommunication, that can be quite business. I don't know whether you've been to Indonesia, but every time I go to Jakarta, Indonesia, it seems that every person in Indonesia has a mobile telephone. So when we talk about this big population, then make this country quite attractive for a sale point of view. Singapore is a completely different approach because Singapore is a very small country, small population. But actually, Singapore has a huge manufacturing. A lot of pharmaceutical companies have manufacturing in Singapore. Semiconductor business is quite important for Singapore. Chemistry, refinery in oil, pet is quite important. Recently, biologics, several companies have a facility of biologic in Singapore. At the moment, I'm involved in a revocation case where I present a patentee in a big pharma in a patent, defending a patent on human antibody. So it's become quite interesting. But essentially, also Singapore is important as a financial center, as a trade center. For example, I just give an example, a case I had a couple of years ago where the goods were made in India for the US market. But the goods had to come to Singapore, to the Changi airport, because the trade company was located in Singapore. So the goods arrived to the Changi airport in a container, change of title, transaction, and then they're shipped again to the United States. If you have a patent in Singapore, then could be used for infringement. And then, of course, it'd be good to stop the transfer of goods, but also what you want to do to affect the company. Singapore is very good in attracting foreign company to the business, but they want you have to follow the rules. So I think that if you infringe a patent, it's not good reputation. So that's what the different business strategy for each country in Southeast Asia. As you already know, of course, the GDP growth is quite consistent, quite important in Asia, in Southeast Asia. That's why these countries are becoming more and more interesting. This is kind of a statistic which I find very interesting, is the Global Innovation Index ranking of 2013, which was prepared by the World Bank together with the INSEAD Institute, and they take into consideration several indicators like how much R&D, how much innovation is in one country, how easy it is to do, to set up a startup company, how much collaboration there are, whether there are incentive. And you can see Hong Kong and Singapore, which rank respectively the first and second in Asia, they are 7th and 8th position worldwide. So it means they're quite important. Malaysia, which is considered the upper medium income country, was the first in the world. So they are ready to move in among the most industrial country. I've seen personally a huge different improvement in Malaysia in the last 6-7 years. Really, it was something huge. Malaysia performed even better than China according to these criteria. Thailand is improving quite a lot, and India is considered low medium income country but perform third worldwide. So it's moving well. Brunei is a high income country but didn't perform very well. It was quite disappointing. So it means that they are not investing in innovation. These are the number of statistics. Sorry if the number are not very well clear, but I took from WIPO. Simply say that the number of patent applications filed in some countries in Southeast Asia. Singapore receives about 10,000 patent applications a year. Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand about between 5,000 and 6,000, and Philippines and Vietnam only 3,000. Okay, these are the key issue criteria we take into consideration when we advise our client where to get protection. Ease of filing, where it's complicated or easy, the cost, and of course translation become a major cost, especially in my field, chemical, pharmaceutical, biotech client. It's not uncommon to have 80 pages, 100 pages, so the cost of translation is quite important. Time of grant, which is a major issue. With the exception of Singapore, can be a really major issue. I will talk about that. And protection, because even if you get a patent, if you cannot enforce, then not much point. So Singapore, I would say all the countries in Southeast Asia and the ASEAN are member of PCT, which makes life quite easier. Singapore, we just needed the PCT application number, and we can file it. So absolutely no document. The other, I think, is no major problem. Thailand, we need the notarized power of attorney. In Malaysia, declaration inventorship, but it's only required the time allowance. The problem is only with Indonesia, Vietnam, where we have to submit within 3 months the original copy of the power of attorney assignment. It's a bit anachronistic, but yeah, we have to chase client to get this document. Cost. Usually, filing patent application in ASEAN country is very cheap. The only issue is translation. So if you are in my technical field where you have patent application 80 pages, 100 pages, translation can be a major cost. Of course, we're not expensive as a filing patent application in Japan or maybe Korea, but still something has to be taken into consideration. Time of grant, this becomes the main issue. Singapore is quite fast, quite quick. Within 2-3 years, you can have a patent application grant. But if you have a positive IPRP and the Singapore National Face, you can immediately obtain a patent in Singapore. Singapore, as you may know, on the 14th of February this year, so within a few weeks, will become a full positive examination country. So it means you must have a notice of allowability, otherwise you will not get a patent grant. So Singapore has moved. Until 95 was a registration country, then they moved to a self-assessment country, and now will be a full positive examination country, the same as a major jurisdiction. Malaysia is improving quite a lot. Thailand is a big problem. The average number of years for obtaining a patent in Thailand has been calculated at 12.6. So it means if you are in the engineering field, it may take you 8 to 10 years to get the patent. If you are in the pharmaceutical, you should expect about 15 years to get the patent. I think that at the moment there are only a couple of pharma examining the patent office. As the reason is because, you know, the economic treatment is not very good, and these examiner always continuing hired by the patent firm. So there is huge backlog, which is a big issue, because if you want to launch a product, you know that there is a patent, you may need to wait until the patent is granted, which may take many, many years. It means you take the risk. One of my clients wants to launch a product. We know there is a patent still pending, where we even submit to the patent office a copy of the same patent, European patent, which has been revoked in Europe, just try to help the Thai examiner to follow the same decision, but unfortunately nothing happened. At the same time, if you are a pharma company, want to force your patent, you may wait for 15 years or so. And the other countries also are quite slow. So with the exception of Singapore, Brunei, and Malaysia, obtaining a patent in other country can be quite, may take a lot, many years. There is a way to expedite examination with the aspect cooperation. Aspect cooperation has been in place for 3 or 4 years, but not well promoted. But in the last 1 year, it's become a bit more popular. So it means that if you obtain a positive examination report or a patent grant in one jurisdiction, in one country of the ASEAN, then you can expedite examination in the other country. So as I say, usually Singapore, because it's the first one can be granted. And again, if you have positive IPRP, you can obtain a patent tomorrow and then expedite examination. So probably maybe the only way to expedite examination, obtain a patent in other jurisdiction. Unfortunately, from the implementation is a different issue. I had recently a case where I obtained a patent in Malaysia. The client did not file a patent in Singapore, so I only have the Malaysian one, and I tried to expedite the examination in Indonesia. The Indonesian patent office say, no, we only accept if it's Singapore. So they have some internal guideline, not published in English, only in Bahasa Indonesia, which say they only accept Singapore. So it means it may be worth to always have, if you are interested in some countries in Asia you want to expedite, it may be worth to have the Singapore patent application, because the one that all the countries accept and recognize. Protection, that's a major issue. Okay, Singapore has a specialized court, not high court, but I think the quality is quite good and can be pretty fast. Malaysian IP court, I have to say, is improved quite a lot. One of my colleagues is involved at the moment in 4 litigation in Malaysia, and the decision is much faster than before. Before, we're talking about 10 years, now can be pretty fast. Thailand is a major issue because really you need a lot of time. But even if you succeed in obtaining inhibition, which is possible, convince the police to shut down the factory is a major problem. Outcome, I have to say, Singapore and Malaysia, we look at UK case law, it's quite reliable, quite good. In Thailand, other country, the outcome can be quite unpredictable. There is one case, maybe I can bring an example in Thailand. Sanofi has a patent, a company launched a product, Sanofi sued them, and the company say, oh, we have our own patent, our product is covered by, since we have a patent, we cannot infringe. And somehow they convinced the Thai judge, and they found not infringing. So you see, maybe it's an odd case, but this is the situation. You can have a very unpredictable situation in Thailand. Indonesia is another major problem. One of my clients wants to launch a product. We did a patent search. We found that there is an Indonesia patent which may be relevant because in some other jurisdiction they have a very broad scope of claim. We request the Indonesia Patent Office for a file wrapper. Indonesia Patent Office say the file wrapper is missing. And we say, okay, can we have a printed copy of the electronic copy? They say Indonesia Patent Office does not keep electronic copy. So we know that there is a patent in Indonesia, which may be relevant, but the Indonesia Patent Office does not have a copy of the patent. So my client has to decide what to do. One option is to contact the patentee and ask the patentee, can you please send us a copy of the patent which has been granted in Indonesia. So you see, that's the situation in Southeast Asia, with the exception with Singapore, a bit of Malaysia. The other country, there are some major issues. This one is just to say, because we do a number of FTO and search in Southeast Asia, especially pharma company, and there is this issue where the patent is expired everywhere, but it's still enforced in Philippines and sometimes in Malaysia, because under the old law, Philippines was 17 years, the life of patent was 17 years from grant, like United States, in Malaysia 15 years. So the law changed, but there are still some patent enforced. Data exclusivity and patent extension term for drug in as a region. I list a number of countries in Asia in general, but I highlight those in the Southeast Asia. So data exclusivity is only in Singapore, Malaysia, and Vietnam, and patent extension term only in Singapore and Brunei. This is to say that Southeast Asia is still a convenient market for generic company to launch a product, because you can launch a product as soon as the patent expires, or even if there is no patent, because there is no exclusivity data. Although Singapore has the provision for the patent extension term for drug, we think that it is unlikely that any company may take advantage of the patent extension term. The reason is because usually originator, when obtained the market authorization in Singapore, they rely on the FDA grant authorization on the corresponding European one, and the Singapore Health Authority on this situation is able to grant the market authorization in Singapore within 1 year. So it means that they never meet the delay for obtaining market authorization in Singapore. But there is the law, there is a provision in the sense, if the Singapore Health Authority is slow in granting the market authorization, there is a remedy of 10 patent extension term. But since it's quite efficient, we think that it's unlikely it's going to be implemented, applied. Is about Singapore. Maybe I should skip. Okay, Thailand is a major issue. In Thailand, I'm involved, I'm a member of the IP Working Committee of the European Union Business Center. Couple of years ago, the Patent Office rejected Swiss-style claim, medical claim, because said the Swiss-style claim are like amount to a method treatment, so it's not patentable. Since then, about 2 years ago, the Patent Office issued some draft guidelines, which was terrible. They were looking, I think, to India, they were looking to Argentina, maybe to Philippines, Cheaper Medicine Act, and were really rejecting psychomedical use, isoform, polymorph, anything. I think we went through about 10 drafts of the guidelines. We lobby against that, and on the end of September, the guidelines have been implemented. They are still in Thai language. I know that some pharma try to get an unofficial copy in English. I have not seen it, but I interviewed a number of examiners at Patent Office. So my understanding from talking to them is that psychomedical use may be patentable if support is found in application as a generifier. So it means that when you enter into Thailand, if you have a method treatment or a compound for use like in Europe, you can recast the claim to Swiss-style claim, provided there is a support in the patent application for a method making the medicament. So I would expect, from my experience, that patent application coming from the United States may have a bit of problem. So it means that if there is no support, say, this is not supported, the only thing you can have in the claim is method treatment, which is not patentable. And the compound for use, the new form in Europe is not patentable in Thailand. The guideline also include efficacy. I think they took this one from India, so I inquire, is going to be something like India, like the 3D? They say, no, it's not statutory, it's on the guideline. It's up to the examiner request the patentee to submit the data that your compound is more efficacy than